Great. Even though I am actually not going to talk about crowdfunding per se today, because Carl said I actually can do something different than I've been doing for the last couple of years, I do feel a little compelled to respond to John's point of view. It's the democratization of risk, but in many ways crowdfunding, and I want to just be clear. Under the Jobs Act, there are two relevant provisions that I won't really be talking too much about today. It's Title II, which is the lifting of the ban on general solicitation, which allows entrepreneurs to raise money from accredited investors by tweeting about it and emailing about it, which you couldn't do previously, but as of Monday, you will be able to do it. My admonition for any entrepreneur in the room that's going to be doing that, do it carefully. Do it respectfully to the laws that have been changed over the last 70 years. The anti-fraud rules still apply. Regulators are monitoring what's going on in the social media world, and you will get calls and investigations. We have clients that have already happened. My background is I've spent 18 months working on Title II and Title III, going down to the SEC and FINRA on a routine basis to build out Title III in specific. Title III is dormant at the moment, so while Title II will go live on Monday, and I hope lots of people can raise money through that new means, Title III, the proposed rules are not out, it's not live, it's not probably going to be live anytime soon, and if we're lucky, we'll see the proposed rules sometime in the fall. What's interesting about, and I'll keep going, so sorry. So the law firm's just been very involved in the program. We're securities lawyers. We represent 50 public companies. We do a lot of IPOs. But most interestingly, we've helped develop securities programs in this country that have been alternative means of finance for 20 years. And that's just a list of the things. Okay. And so we're not talking donations. We're not talking rewards. We're not talking pre-order. Crowdsourcing, you guys know well, and by and large, I'm involved in the sale of securities. It should not be lost on anybody. A Title II financing, a Title III financing is a securities transaction, and it comes with it all the important securities rules that have been in place for a long time. So raise money responsibly, use the proceeds responsibly, and take your investors' concerns to heart. But what's interesting to me, even though we've spent the vast majority of the 18 months on Title III and working with funding platforms to build out new innovative technologies that not only replicate the offline experience that my broker-dealers do when it comes to raising funds, it tries to better them. It tries to do better due diligence by socializing with the crowd. It tries to provide education that broker-dealers often do not provide to investors. As a result of the experience in Title III, which I unfortunately can't deliver any good news about today, other than there are a lot of very serious professionals, some who are in the room today, who are doing very interesting things technologically that I think will build out an infrastructure the likes of which regulators have no clue how important it is for the future of the sale of securities in terms of valuation tools, use of proceeds monitoring electronically. I invest in a lot of private placements, and I'm sorry to say I lose a lot of money, and I do it with people who never report to me how they've spent the money or how they've lost it, and it's infuriating. Title II, done properly in an online funding platform environment, I think will respond to much of that. But the way they're going to do it, and the way they're going to do it better than I think they would have ever done it, is on the backs of the intelligence of the Title III funding platform community, who are really building out funding platforms that I'm proud to say that I'm very involved with. Along the way, I went from Title II, which is accredited investor investing, from unaccredited investor investing, to Title II, which is accredited investor investing. And something happened, and this is what Carl and I talked about. All of a sudden, large companies realized that they could build relationships with their customers and their clients in an efficient way that they had heretofore not been able to do. And we probably represent 50 funding platforms across the world, and all of a sudden they started getting phone calls from large companies. How can we develop a relationship with you and what you're doing? We believe in entrepreneurs. We want to be meaningfully involved with our own customers in, whether it's a white label solution or somebody else's solution, to make this statement: we believe in America, we believe in entrepreneurs, and they want to build a relationship. Or in some cases, they've said, we know that our customers may generate ideas that we want to first look at in order to potentially joint venture with them and commercially exploit those ideas with them. How you do that is going to be the art. And so those are just subcomponents of how some big companies will do discounts. Some will start social media campaigns so they can really open a dialogue with their customers and understand what's going on with their own, in some cases, consumer products. Some will have contests. And that's what historically has been done. And interestingly, these are the three general programs that we've been involved with that we think there's not a specific model. Unlike Title II or Title III, where there's specific models that people can point to, or donations, reward, what's happening is every large company is going to look to the crowd and say, how do we want to engage with them? So in the first example, there's a funding platform that was that approached a large airline, and they got the airline to contribute the frequent flyer miles and sell those in the funding platform environment in order to engage with their passengers, in order to say to the local community, we believe in small business. And it's early days, but so far there's been some engagement, and this large company is figuring out how to maybe market it through their airline, and how to possibly do other programs with their own customers to say, we're not just shipping you across the country, but we believe in what you're doing. The next one, and David Post is here, and I've been thinking with David about this one, and he came to me with a large company that's already got some contests going with their customers. And I said, David, why don't we take that into an online environment and let the other consumers of the same products actually vote on some of the ideas that these other customers have, since the big company is funding some of these customers. They're not even entrepreneurs. They may become entrepreneurs, and they're providing with some level of modest funding. Our view was to vote within the social group to see which were the best of ideas, maybe even integrate it with a pre-order campaign to really show that the commitment of the crowd, and then provide them with more meaningful financial support and maybe introductions to lawyers and accountants to really build the business. That, to me, is not more than paying a passive lip service of respect to your community and show that you believe in it. And then the last one, sorry, was that a sign that I have to leave? I have 2 minutes. Okay, I can get it done in that time frame. And the financial services incubator it's a large company, and they're going to provide funding to an incubator, and it's their way of saying to entrepreneurs that's their level of support. I think that that's not 360 enough. I think there are a lot of other things that you could do by way of helping the entrepreneur. And the example I was speaking to some of the folks in the back is, I have a small law firm. We have escrow accounts with this major financial institution. And what have they ever done for me? I give them money, and they use large law firms because that's what large financial institutions do. And in fact, those large law firms actually aren't even all that nice to me. They think crowdfunding and crowdfinance is a joke. So they're not actually on my good list of supporting the things that I do day to day. But it would be nice if all of a sudden large companies thought about other ways to support the crowd in their daily activities, daily routines, and idea generation.
Thank you, Doug. I have a question. Can I just ask if this is on?
Do you get to go first?
Do
you get to go first? I mean, there may have been some...
I'm sorry. Well, I can't... Is there anybody else here? Oh, there's a whole bunch.
No, you're it.
So what type of new legal issues and things are coming up? Some of these people that you're engaging with, what type of questions are they asking that they didn't ask relative to previous model?
The first thing that comes up in these, and it's kind of insane from my point of view, nothing I told you about so far has anything to do with the sale of securities. But because it's the crowd, the major law firms that represent each one of these organizations, except maybe in the third where it would make more sense, struggled for months to decide whether or not they would get involved because of the potential stigma associated with crowdfunding from their point of view. Because if you are represented by a large law firm or investment bank, as John said moments ago, all of a sudden the crowd is going to be participating in riskier investments, and if they lose money, what does that mean to their primary brand? So the first threshold issue is is what we're doing anything having to do with the sale of securities? And if they get the whiff of concern, even in the first example where there's not any sale of security, by the way, I have a good relationship with the SEC. They made me call the SEC. I confirmed that it was not the sale of a security. They thought I had 3 heads for even calling and asking. But large companies have a tough time when it comes to figuring out how to engage with the crowd. They're very concerned about the liability and the brand diminution, which I fully appreciate. And so that's the biggest threshold concern. Oh.
Why is it taking so long for Title III?
There's always somebody in the crowd that asks me that. Why is Title III taking so long? I will tell you, I've worked with the SEC incredibly closely. The people at the staff have been exceptionally receptive to having meeting after meeting, and that's not true in most of the other securities programs that I've been involved with. I think they've been earnestly engaging the crowd, broadly speaking, the Title III community, to write the rules. I believe the rules were written months ago. I don't think they've been published for any one of a number of political reasons, including the various changing of the commissioners, as you're probably well aware, including Mary Jo White recently taking the reins, and it's only under her stewardship that Title II went live. I think there's a lot of controversy and earnest concern about Title III and opening up investments that may result in loss to unaccredited investors and result in further egg on the face of regulators at the federal and state level. That's not by way of an excuse. I think the timing is not right. A lot of earnest funding platforms have spent a lot of money building out their technologies, and a lot of them are living month to month, but that's the practical reality. And if I was a strategist and I worked at the SEC and I was not a big fan of Title III, I'd want to see Title II go live, and I'd want to see whether or not a lot of people lose a lot of money before I decide whether or not I'm going to actually publish those rules.
When do you think you're going to be published?
Mary Jo White is of record during her confirmation hearings, and afterwards that it would be this fall. We'll see.